What would you do if you believed your child was in danger and the only way to protect them meant breaking the law? Most parents say, "I'd do anything." But for one mother named Rachel, that answer cost her everything. Her freedom, her reputation, and almost her relationship with the very child she was trying to save. Today, we are telling you the story of a mother whose love became a crime in the eyes of the court, and a case that left an entire nation asking, where does protection end and lawbreaking begin? Rachel was a 34-year-old single mother living in a small town in Ohio. By every account, she was devoted to her 8-year-old daughter, Lily. Neighbors described her as quiet, hardworking, and fiercely protective. But Rachel's life was not simple. She had recently separated from her former partner, a man we'll call Marcus, after a relationship that, she claimed, had become increasingly frightening. She said Marcus had a pattern of unpredictable behavior around Lily, and she had deep fears about what happened during his court-ordered visitation periods. One evening in October, Lily came home from a weekend visit and told her mother something that stopped Rachel's heart. Lily described a situation that Rachel believed put her daughter at serious risk. Rachel immediately called a hotline and reported her concerns to Child Protective Services. But Rachel felt the system was moving too slowly. The investigation was open. The visitation schedule remained in place. Court dates were weeks away, and Rachel, terrified and desperate, made a decision that would define the rest of her life. She took Lily and did not bring her back for the next scheduled visit with Marcus. Then she missed the one after that, and the one after that. Weeks passed, then a month, then 6 weeks. Law enforcement eventually located Rachel and Lily staying with Rachel's sister in another state. Rachel was cooperative. She explained everything to the officers, her fears, Lily's words, the ongoing investigation. She believed she had good reason for what she had done. But legally, what Rachel had done had a name. It was called parental interference, or in some states, custodial interference. She had violated a court-issued custody order, and that is a criminal offense. Rachel was arrested in front of her daughter. Lily was placed temporarily in the care of a relative while the legal process began. Rachel's case went to trial 4 months later. Her attorney argued that she had acted out of genuine fear, that she was a mother responding to what she believed was an urgent threat to her child's safety. She was not a criminal. She was a parent in crisis. The prosecution argued something different. They said the courts exist precisely for situations like this, that Rachel had already reported her concerns, that an investigation was active, and that taking the law into her own hands, ignoring a judge's order, could not be excused, no matter how genuine her fears were. When the verdict came, Rachel was found guilty of custodial interference. The judge, before sentencing, acknowledged the impossible position Rachel had felt she was in. He said, and this was reported by local media, that he had no doubt Rachel loved her daughter. But he explained that family courts and child protective systems, however imperfect, exist so that individuals do not become their own judges and enforcers. He sentenced Rachel to 18 months in a state correctional facility, with eligibility for early release after 12 months based on good behavior. He also ordered mandatory family counseling upon her release. Rachel wept. Members of her family in the gallery wept. The courtroom was silent. Now, a lot of you watching might be asking, how can a mother go to prison for trying to protect her child? It sounds wrong, and that emotional reaction is completely understandable. But here is the legal reality. In the United States and many other countries, when a family court issues a custody order, that order carries the same weight as any law. Violating it, even with good intentions, is a criminal act. The reason the law is this strict is actually important to understand. Without that rule, any parent could decide on their own that the other parent is dangerous and simply disappear with the child. Custody orders protect children from being used as instruments in personal disputes. They protect both parents' rights, and they ensure that concerns are resolved by evidence, not by whoever acts fastest or most dramatically. Rachel's attorneys argued she had no time to wait. The prosecution argued the system gave her options she did not fully use. The jury sided with the prosecution. Rachel served 13 months before being granted early release. Those 13 months, according to statements she later gave to a local journalist, were the hardest of her life, not because of the conditions inside, but because of the distance from Lily. She was allowed supervised phone calls twice a week. Every Tuesday and Friday evening, she would sit in a small room with a phone and hear her daughter's voice. Lily, now 9 years old, had been placed with Rachel's mother, her grandmother, during Rachel's incarceration. Rachel described feeling like she had failed her daughter twice. First, by not finding another way to protect her, and second, by being taken away from her entirely. Child psychologists who spoke to media at the time without identifying the family said that cases like this are particularly damaging for children. The child does not understand the legal system. What Lily experienced was her mother being taken away. That is a loss regardless of the reasons. Lily reportedly struggled in school during the first few months. She drew pictures of her mother. She asked her grandmother every night when Mommy was coming home. It was heartbreaking by every account. But Lily was resilient. With consistent support from her grandmother and regular calls with Rachel, she slowly adjusted. When Rachel was released, the reunion described by family members was overwhelming. Lily ran to her mother and held on and did not let go for a long time. Rachel's story is not unique. There are hundreds of cases every year where a protective parent, most often a mother, ends up on the wrong side of the law because they acted on fear rather than legal process. Critics of the system say this reveals a painful gap. The legal process is slow, but danger, real or perceived, does not wait. Advocates for family court reform argue that courts need faster mechanisms for parents who genuinely believe their child is at risk. On the other hand, child welfare experts caution against making it too easy to bypass custody orders, because doing so opens the door to manipulation and false claims that harm children too. There is no easy answer here, and that is exactly what makes cases like Rachel's so difficult to watch and so important to talk about. Rachel's story is not unique. There are hundreds of cases every year where a protective parent, most often a mother, ends up on the wrong side of the law because they acted on fear rather than legal process. As of the most recent update available, Rachel has completed her sentence, fulfilled her counseling requirements, and has full custody of Lily once again. The original concerns she reported to Child Protective Services were eventually reviewed as part of the broader case proceedings. Rachel has spoken publicly about her experience, saying she would urge any parent in a similar situation to work with a family law attorney immediately to document everything, to push the system hard through legal channels, and to never stop fighting but to fight within the rules. Because the moment you step outside them, she said, you risk losing the very thing you were trying to protect. Critics of the system say this reveals a painful gap. The legal process is slow, but danger, real or perceived, does not wait. Advocates for family court reform argue that courts need faster mechanisms for parents who genuinely believe their child is at risk. On the other hand, child welfare experts caution against making it too easy to bypass custody orders, because doing so opens the door to manipulation and false claims that harm children too. There is no easy answer here, and that is exactly what makes cases like Rachel's so difficult to watch and so important to talk about. That was the story of a mother who loved her child so much. She was willing to risk everything and ended up paying a price that no parent should ever have to pay. If this story made you feel something, share it. Someone out there needs to hear it. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe because we cover real stories that matter every single week. I'll see you in the next one.